The 1979 romantic comedy called 10 hit the big screens for our viewing pleasure. It was produced and directed by Blake Edwards, and it starred Dudley Moore, Julie Andrews, Robert Webber, and Bo Derek. It was considered a major trend-setting film at the time, and it became one of the year's biggest box office hits. The storyline is that a famed 42-year-old composer and playwright named George Webber, played by Dudley Moore, is going through a midlife crisis. He's seriously dating a 38-year-old actress and singer named Samantha Taylor, played by Julie Andrews. He completely loves her, although he admits their connection is more intellectual than an emotional one. She in turn loves him, despite barely tolerating his often infantile behavior. He does things like spying on his neighbor's sexual encounters with a wide array of women. This spying, which the neighbor knows about, as he does it back to him. One day while he's driving, George spots a young woman who he believes is the most beautiful creature he has ever seen before. She's an 11 on a scale of 10, and he didn't even believe 10s existed before her. Beyond the fact that she's probably half his age, she is at the time just off to her own wedding. George and Sam's relationship hits the skids with an argument which is further exacerbated by a series of misunderstandings. That being said, George decides to pursue this woman of his dreams with all the energy that he can muster. He learns her name is Jenny Miles. Now being married, her name is Jenny Handley. This is played by Bo Derek. He follows her to a Mexican resort where she and her husband, David Handley, played by Sam Jones, are honeymooning. In his pursuit of Jenny, his encounter with a lonely woman named Mary Lewis, played by Dee Wallace, who is vacationing at the resort, and his discussions with his gay lyricist, Hugh, played by Robert Webber, George takes on a much clearer picture of what is going on in Mexico and how he truly feels about Sam. George Segal was originally cast in the lead role, but he walked off the set shortly after filming began. Rumor had it that this was done because Julie Andrews' role had been built up more than his. This marks the first time that George was replaced by Dudley Moore. This happened again for the title role of Arthur from 1981. Conversely, in the movie The Mirror Has Two Faces from 1996, Dudley Moore was replaced by Segal. After Segal walked off the movie, they immediately hired Dudley Moore, shutting down the production until Moore could start and filming could be continued. However, Segal is still the actor who appears in the scenes set in Mexico. These segments were never reshot, but they were used in the final movie. Blake Edwards, who wrote, produced, and directed the film, had a difficult time finding the right actress to play this pivotal role of the bride Jenny. He actually considered using his own daughter, Jennifer Edwards. He even screen tested her for it. To find this 10 for the movie, he originally scouted a variety of locales, such as coffee shops, talent agencies, little theaters, model agencies, and he even went to a fashion show where a dozen top models screen-tested underwear of their own choosing. Edwards then decided that spectacular beauty is no substitute for acting talent, and that the ability to market products is different to carrying a major acting role in a major motion picture. Once Bo Derek read for the part late in the process, all considerations for other actresses ended. This was her first major movie appearance in a main role. She had previously had a small part in Orca from 1977, but nothing on this scale. Bo was 22 years of age when she appears in the movie. She had been most well known at the time for an erotic poster where she is seen on the beach kneeling in the surf. which actually ended up selling over 500,000 copies. The first words out of her mouth to Blake Edwards was that she was very sorry for wasting his time. In other words, she didn't think she was going to get hired at all. Blake Edwards and the co-producer Tony Adams were sitting there with their fingers crossed and praying, let her be able to act. Please let her be able to act. They knew if she could do that, they had found their 10. Blake Edwards was inspired to write this script because of a personal experience that he had had. Just like George Weber, he caught a glimpse of a gorgeous woman on her way to a wedding. This put the whole plot line into motion. Bo Derek was also famous during this time for her cornrow hairstyle. This took 2 women 10 hours to braid and required the use of Elmer's glue to stay in place while filming. And after the film came out, this cornrow hairstyle became the subject of a lawsuit. This hairstyle is most commonly worn by African American women. Renee Rogers was one such woman, and she worked for American Airlines, and she sued for the right to wear her hair in this style, despite there being a dress code that described it as unprofessional. She argued that the hairstyle was an expression of her culture. The District Court of New York rejected this argument, saying that it was not a unique hairstyle just to African American culture, because Bo Derek, a white woman, wore this style in this film. The movie has said to have popularized Maurice Lavelle's classical piece of music, the Bolero. The song is played in the movie while Dudley Moore and Bo Derek are making love. There was a big connection between this piece of music and the sex symbol of Bo Derek. She went on in 1984 to star in the film Bolero, which further capitalized on this connection. And now, because of this movie, this song remains one of the most expensive songs to be used for movies and television. And it goes on to earn yearly quite a bit of money for the famed French composer's estate. Mary Kathleen Collins was just 16 when she dropped her toes into the acting world, a decision that she would see transform her into a worldwide sex symbol and iconic 1980s actress known as Bo Derek. Her first film, Fantasies, caused her to drop out of school in 1973 and travel to Greece for filming. This decision would kickstart her career as an actress, though she wasn't successful at all until years later. But the main thing that the film did, it was a catalyst for her romance with John Derek, in an affair that would see him divorce his wife to be with Bo. John Derek was 46 years old at the time they met. That's 3 decades older than his leading lady. John and Bo ended up beginning their affair during the production of the movie. By this time, she had just turned 17, and John was still married to actress Linda Evans, who was also in Greece at the time of the filming. Once she found out about the affair, she returned to the U.S. and filed for divorce in 1974. It was bad enough that her husband's infidelity was exposed, but the fact that it was with a teenager made it that much worse. The pair argued and justified their relationship, but there was no way that that would be accepted in the U.S. As a matter of fact, if they had returned to California, John would have been charged with statutory rape due to Bo's age, as she was under the age of consent at the time. Instead of taking those laws as a sign that they needed to end their relationship, the pair moved to Germany in a bid to escape prosecution until Bo turned 18. Once she was 18, they finally returned to the United States, and they finally wed in 1976. There's something to be said for this relationship, though, because they stayed married until John's death in the late 1990s. The movie was a huge box office hit, and it raked in almost $74 million in the U.S. by the end of 1980. This is a fun film to watch, and it definitely put Bo Derek and Dudley Moore on the acting map. Take a look back at this fun movie. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.